Welcome to LexTalk World Talk Show presented by Clickaway Creators. Today we have Ms. Swati Karkera with us. Swati holds a bachelor's degree in Electronics and Communications Engineering from University of Mumbai and an honors degree in law from IIT Kharagpur. She is a registered Indian patent and agent and a registered advocate for the Bar Council of Maharashtra. Swati has worked with reputed multinational law firms, small and medium enterprises prior to venturing out with Lance IP, which is our own venture, by the way, and we are going to talk about that in the interview as well. Infosys Technology, Mercedes Benz, ABB India, Samsung are some of the companies she has been associated with. As an IP professional, her experience involves drafting, filing, and prosecuting patent applications across jurisdictions. And with her venture at Lance IP, she aims to contribute towards the protection and commercialization of IP in a holistic manner that shall benefit the society and innovators of technology at large. So without any further ado, let me just introduce you to Swati. Hello, Swati. How are you?
Hi, Bharti. Thank you for having me here.
It's a pleasure, Swati. Before we actually move forward and we talk about your venture, Lance IP, can you please let us know about yourself and your journey towards becoming a patent lawyer?
So my journey towards becoming a patent lawyer was definitely not a very straightforward decision. And if I have to go back in time, I was pretty much like, those youngsters who are good in a couple of things and are interested in multiple areas, but not sure which one to pick. And coming from a family of lawyers, definitely there was a preference towards me taking up law as my first degree. But I was pretty much good in maths and science. And over the years, I developed a very strong inclination towards technology. And the kind of legal discussions that I was exposed to back then, and most of the legal discussions would come from my parents because both my parents are lawyers. And, when you have both parents as lawyers, the house is like half a courtroom. They're discussing cases every day. And we had clients coming and meeting them, sometimes lawyers coming and meeting them. So all those legal discussions that I was exposed to, it didn't have a flavor of science and technology in them. It was more of the civil, cases that are always happening. And I was pretty sure that if I'm picking up something, it has to do with a tinge of science or technology has to be there. Otherwise, it won't sustain my interest. So I picked up engineering as my first degree. And during my course in engineering, this is what I figured out about myself, that though it's very interesting to, understand technology, learn about systems, and I used to be interested in talking about it, discussing about it, and writing about it. But when we had these live projects, and, to decode a circuit or, live code, that was somehow not my forte. I wasn't quite interested in that particular part. And this feature of mine, it really surfaced when I graduated from engineering and I started working as a software engineer at Infosys. So I was put in this Finacle business unit, which is a banking solution software. And it had these software codes, strewn across servers. You had to pick up modules from here and there and, fix it up, customize it to the client requirement, and which also required a lot of coding. And this is where I realized that, because this was never my thing. I wasn't quite interested in making projects work. Though I would understand how it works, but when it comes to decoding it, customizing it, it was not my thing. And I would see my colleagues, who are very interested in, they would sit up late at night, remove the bugs and, make it work. And I realized, I kind of started asking myself, where have I brought myself into and how do I move from here? And luckily, during that time, we had the intellectual property cell department of Infosys had given a seminar. And I got to attend this seminar, wherein the whole world of IPR opened before me. And that's when I saw my career right before me, and especially patent law. It kind of interested me a lot because it had a good confluence of, science, technology, and law. And I felt if I pick up this as my career, I can apply myself both as an engineer and a lawyer. So without wasting much time, I resigned from my the job that I was doing that then, and I enrolled myself into the IIT Law School. And this was a very unconventional decision back then. It pretty much reflected in the number of students who had enrolled. We had only 18 students in our batch. And my parents were very skeptical of this decision of mine. I remember my father asking me this question, like, you're picking up something very tangential like law. I'm happy that you're taking up law, but are you going to forget the fact that you've invested 4 years, into engineering? But eventually they came around, they understood where I came from, and they really supported me through this law course. And I'm very grateful to that, because I could then rejoin the corporate world as a patent lawyer. And I'm very happy with the work I do, because I took time to understand my strengths, my weaknesses, and I picked up a choice which maps my strengths. So when you really like doing what you're doing, then it's the best expression of yourself, and you can serve the society better. And I find myself in that situation right now, and so I'm quite happy with this decision. And this has been my journey of becoming a patent lawyer.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Swati, for throwing light on your journey as a legal professional so far, because that's what you wanted to do. Um, Tell me something, because it's a very different, a combination that that you're working on. So I would really love to know if there is any complex legal issue that you would like to talk about, and if you can describe the complexity and how did you approach it.
So this field is pretty much interesting, because every application we get is very new and challenging. So, and I've seen a lot of challenges in this entire course. This new career path that I picked up. But if I really have to talk about something that was really interesting, which I really enjoyed being a part of, I would like to share this application, which this was an invention which was convened by fresh graduates from engineering, which is IIT Kharagpur itself, our alumni. And the invention was about a convolution neural network that had to be embedded into an ultrasound machine. And once embedded into an ultrasound machine, will prevent that machine from conducting gender determination of a fetus. And the objective of this invention was to combat female feticide in India. So the challenge over here was not in drafting the application. We had a budget issue, because it was from fresh graduates of engineering, wherein even the budget for initiating patent activity was very low. But considering the social impact, this invention would have had on our society, I decided to give my best time and effort. And it took almost 2 months to actually get this drafted. Based on the drafted application and the technical presentation that the students gave, they received a funding of 50 lakhs from the government to build a prototype. So this was a success story in itself, because usually you'll get a funding only if you have a prototype ready, or at least if you have a patent granted in one jurisdiction. Here we didn't have both. And they have built the prototype. Then we had the pandemic coming in, because of which the activity went a little slow. But the last that I've heard from the inventors are they've got a sanction of 4 crores for commercializing this into the market. So this was a success story, because they pretty much crossed, that valley of death that every patent goes through before getting commercialized. And I feel actually proud to be a part of this project, because it had a very social impact, and despite the challenges, we got it done. Apart from this, there was another, during the pandemic, we had another challenge wherein I had to build the IP portfolio of a company from remote. And I've not met the clients at all. I didn't meet the lawyers across jurisdictions. And we built the entire portfolio, the patent and trademark portfolio, all on remote. And another challenge in this case was because of the economic slowdown that happened last 2 years, the client definitely had fund issues. So I had to strategize the filings in a way that, it increases a commercial interest, overseas interest, because they wanted to expand overseas, and at the same time keep the budget of filing and prosecution very low. So when I had to figure out, the strategy here, I went over and beyond than what I would normally do. And I came from a space of, being very sensitive to the client's needs. And this was successfully done because we have leveraged an interest in the Middle East, and they'll be commercializing it, launching the system there by the end of this year. So though the milestones were met and it was successfully accomplished, what happened in this whole duration was that, the client relationship really fostered, and the people with whom I work with, those relationships got very stronger, because we came from a space of giving wherein, the pandemic had a impact on all of us. So when you actually take that step beyond and do more than what you would usually do, it helps in building very long-lasting relationships. A lot of trust got created, and I learned a lot in the whole process. Different ways of doing the same thing. So this was a challenge which I also enjoyed being a part of, because it showed me that a different style of working, which if I implement in future, is going to help me in the long run, and even the people I work with.
Thanks, Swati. Quite interesting cases, I must say. I'm sure you have a lot of other issues as well to discuss that you might have faced. Few more transactions or cases. But thank you so much for sharing these two. They're absolutely unique. I'll not take much of your time. I'll move on to my next question. So you're primarily into creation and commercialization of IP rights, especially in the field of patents, design, and trade secrets. So what would be your take on the gap that exists between filing and commercialization of patents? And if you can also suggest if you have any views on how it can be bridged.
Yeah, I really like this question because it very much pertains to our work. And so as a patent professional, our job pretty much ends with drafting an application and getting it granted. After that, what happens to the patent, we are usually not in that domain. But if a patent, which is an intangible asset, if it doesn't get converted into a tangible product in the market, which is giving a return of investment to the inventor or the applicant who has filed application, then the entire patent filing activity goes waste, because it hasn't generated revenue. And the idea of drafting a patent is to give you a monopoly right in the market. So I have seen, and all of us are aware of this, that there's definitely a huge gap in the number of applications that are filed and the number of applications that are actually the patents that are actually commercialized in the market. And there are many reasons for this. Uh, let's bifurcate it in terms of players. So if we have a key player in the market like a telecom giant or a pharma company, they have been players, IP players in the market for a long time. So they would have well-defined strategies in place. In this case, if a patent is not commercialized, it's usually a well thought out discussion and a decision. And we don't see a loss of innovation in this case. The problem occurs with universities, small scale industries, entrepreneurs, or individual inventors. The inventions that come here, usually they do not see the light of the day. And one of the main reasons are funding. Second, they do not know with which players they need to license it. And usually if you have a patent, the success rate becomes very high if you license it out to a key player. Now we need a framework for that, as in inventions that come out from a university, they need to reach the industry, because the universities will usually not be involved in commercialization. Do we have a framework wherein there is a transfer of technology from universities to industry? Right now, we don't. Everyone is fighting their own battle. And we need to look into the West. Like US has a Federal Transfer of Technology Act way back in the 1980s. And that act laid down a lot of guidelines and principles of building a consortium of agencies of universities, which creates a platform for transferring the technology very easily to the industry. And the state has invested funds wherein you have personals like a technology transfer specialist in every university, which looks into the application, which will do that bridging of gap between the students and the industry. And this has seen a remarkable growth in the patent filing activity and in the transfer of technology into the industries. We need to have a similar framework in India, which will require the government or the state to invest funds, and that would also increase the percentage of GDP that is actually being invested into R&D in India. Currently, it's only at 0.7%, which is very low in comparison to Japan and US, which are at 2.5 to 3%. And if that investment comes in, that's when we'll see the transfer of technology happening better. The patent filing activity will have more meaning. Lesser number of inventions will get lost. And we could move from a service oriented society to a technology driven society, which is very much the need of the hour. So I see this is how, this is one of the ways by which the gap can definitely be bridged in India.
Thank you so much, Swati, for sharing such great insights. Obviously, it's always a pleasure talking to you. Sadly, we have come to an end of this interview, but before I let you go, just one last question. You've been in the legal space for over a decade, and you're doing, things left, right, center. The pandemic also came into the picture. There's so many things that are going on right now, and what I have heard is that lawyers are like the busiest people. How do you ensure that you're making the most of your time as a lawyer? What do you do differently?
Yeah, I really like this question also, and I feel you guys have been more busier than us in the last 1 month with the conference that was up. So I think all of us are very busy these days, and we all have 24 hours, and making the most of this 24 hours is what we all strive for. So my answer is going to be very generic. I think it would apply to everyone. So I have noticed that over time I have developed this ability of being very focused and relaxed despite the situation around me. And trust me, my life has been very tough in the last couple of years. So things are never rosy around. And if I saw this happening in me, like this ability of mine that got developed with time. I'm very focused and relaxed despite the conditions around, and that reflects in the creativity of my drafts. I'm very creative in whatever I do, and in any draft that I do, in any strategy I come up with, there's always a tinge of creativity in it, and that comes only when I'm in the space of being relaxed and focused at the same time. Uh, and this ability I have got because of the meditation practices that I do regularly. I call it as an investment of time because it has reflected in my work, and I've learned this from the Art of Living Foundation. This is a foundation where I also volunteer with, and it's like a relaxation period for me. It helps me in maintaining my work life balance, and I think that is very required because it helps us in conserving our energy and playing the long race, wherein we need to sustain. As the years go by, we accumulate a lot of experiences, and our knowledge grows, and we become a better asset to the society. So we need to sustain on a longer run. So this work-life balance and this mental ability, it has helped me in being more efficient as a lawyer and as a person also.
So in a way, saving it up and redirecting it, into the right direction for the right things. That's
Yeah.
what you do. And of course, meditation is something which is really helpful, and I absolutely agree with you. Thank you so much, Swati, for your time for this interview. It's a pleasure to be talking to you once again. Congratulations on the well-deserved award. I think I've already congratulated you a couple of times. We would really want to see Lance IP growing, and we would love to have this chat again on some other trending topics in the legal space that are going on. So thank you so much, and I'll see you on the other side.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Anytime. And for our viewers, if you like this chat with Swati, please like and share this video, and do not forget to subscribe to Click Away Creators YouTube channel to appreciate what we do, and you have more coming from industry leaders, legal leaders like Swati herself. So thank you so much. This is Bharti for LexTalk signing off. Take care. Bye-bye.